Have you ever felt a cold so deep it had nothing to do with the night air, but everything to do with the silence on the other end of the phone? Have you ever stared at something you see every day, like a little dot on a map, and suddenly realized it was the lie that just destroyed your entire world? I have. And that realization changed everything. My name is Alara. I'm a senior design architect at Stratos Design Group, 38 years old, and I design buildings meant to touch the sky. But at midnight, on a desolate stretch of mountain road just outside Denver, my own world was collapsing back to earth. The meeting with the client had dragged on until almost 11, a marathon session of revisions and reassurances. Now, the engine of my car, a reliable machine I trusted completely, gave a pathetic little cough, sputtered, and died. The dashboard went black. The headlights cut out, plunging me into a darkness so total it felt like a physical weight. I was alone. No streetlights. No moon. Just a sliver hidden by clouds. Not another car had passed me for 20 minutes. The only sound was the wind, a high-pitched, lonely scream filtering through the massive pine trees that lined the road. My first instinct was frustration. My second was a cold prickle of fear. I grabbed my phone and dialed Marcus. My husband, Marcus. He's the charming one. The freelance financial consultant who charmed my friends, my family, and, foolishly, me. The man who handled everything, especially our investments. The phone rang once, then went straight to voicemail. I frowned. That was strange. I called again, straight to voicemail. A knot tightened in my stomach. I hit redial a third time, my thumb pressing hard against the glass. The person you are calling is not available. The panic started then. It wasn't the dark. It wasn't the isolation. It was his silence. Marcus always answered. He was glued to his phone. It was our joke, our connection. If I called, he picked up. Always. My hands were shaking. I remembered the app. The Find My app we'd set up for emergencies. This felt like one. I fumbled with the icon, my breath catching in my throat. I just needed to see his little dot safe at home, probably asleep. His phone dead, just as he'd claim in the morning. The map loaded. My dot was a lonely blue pulse in a sea of black, and his dot. The first shock hit me like a physical blow. His dot was not at home. It was on the other side of town, in a commercial district. The location tag was an address I did not recognize. Pinnacle Wellness Center. Wellness. At midnight, my mind refused to process it. Instead, it went into architect mode. Analyze the problem. Find a solution. I opened my rideshare app. A car was 15 minutes away. The drive took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of absolute deafening silence. The driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, probably wondering what a woman in a $1,000 blazer was doing on a mountain road in the middle of the night. I said nothing. I just watched the map, my own blue dot creeping relentlessly toward his. The dread was a living thing, heavy and cold in my chest. We arrived. The Pinnacle Wellness Center was exactly what it sounded like, a sleek, offensively expensive-looking private clinic. Glass and brushed steel. It was completely dark. The building was asleep, except for one office on the ground floor. A single warm light glowed behind a frosted glass window. And then I saw it. The second shock. Parked just outside that office, in a reserved spot, was his car. Marcus's car. I paid the driver and got out. My legs felt like they were moving through wet cement. I didn't make a sound. I crept past the manicured, sterile landscaping. I moved toward the light. The window was slightly open. I could hear the faint sound of music. I got close enough to see through a gap in the blinds, and there he was, my husband. He was laughing, a full-throated laugh I hadn't heard in months. He was holding a glass of champagne. He raised it, clinking it against the glass held by a beautiful, statuesque blonde woman. She was not me. And sitting with them, smiling, was Dr. Evans. The man who co-managed the trust fund for Lily, my orphaned niece. The multi-million-dollar fund I had entrusted them both to protect. They were celebrating. I stepped back from the window, melting into the shadows of the sterile landscaping. The sound of their laughter followed me, sharp and thin in the cold air. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, but my mind, my architect's mind, suddenly became terrifyingly clear. The panic vanished, replaced by a cold, precise focus. The emotional fog burned away, leaving only the structural weak points of the lie I was living. I strained to listen. The wind had died down, and their voices carried. "Final transfer tomorrow morning," Dr. Evans said. His voice was thick with false confidence. Then Marcus, that smooth, charming voice that I used to think was the sound of safety. "It's perfect. Alara will be tied up in the Strata Spire presentation all day. She won't even look at her phone." A laugh from the blonde woman. "She really trusts you that much." "She trusts," Marcus said, and the sound of his casual arrogance sent a spike of ice water through my veins. "That I handle everything. The champagne, the laughter. This wasn't just an affair. I could have almost processed an affair. This was something else. This was calculated. This was about money. And Dr. Evans's presence meant it was about Lily's money. The money my sister left for her daughter's future. A future I had sworn to protect. I didn't run. I walked, calm and silent, back to the sidewalk. I pulled out my phone and ordered another car. Not to my home. To an anonymous hotel near the airport, a place for people in transit, a place to disappear. The ride was a blur. I don't remember the driver or the car. I just remember staring out the window, the city lights smearing like wet paint, my mind replaying that scene. The clink of glasses, the name of my project, Strata Spire, used as a weapon against me, as a cover for their theft. At the hotel, I paid for the room in cash. I walked into the stale beige room, locked the deadbolt, and stood in front of the full-length mirror. The woman who stared back at me was not the one who had been stranded on the mountain 2 hours ago. That woman was scared. This woman, with her disheveled hair, smeared mascara, and the hard, cold clarity in her eyes, was an architect, and she was already drafting a new set of plans. My mind started pulling files. File 1 Marcus, volunteering to help Dr. Evans modernize Lily's trust fund. It's all in antiquated bonds. "Alara," he'd said, concern etched on his handsome face. "He's a doctor, not a financier. He needs my help to maximize her potential." File 2, me, buried. For 6 months, I had been living on caffeine and adrenaline, pouring every waking hour into the Stratos Spire. It was the biggest project of my career, the one that would make my name. I had been so focused on building my legacy that I hadn't seen the termites eating away at the foundation of my life. I had been distracted, and he had counted on it. A simmering rage began to build, a low, controlled burn. He had used my ambition as a tool. He had used my love for my niece as a smokescreen. My phone buzzed on the cheap laminate nightstand. The sound was violent in the silence. It was a text from Marcus. "Oh my God, Alara, I'm so sorry." My phone died. I just plugged it in and saw all your missed calls. "Are you okay? I was worried sick." I read the words, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. The audacity, the sheer reptilian coldness of the lie. He was sitting in a dark clinic celebrating his theft, and he was worried sick. My fingers were perfectly steady as I typed back. I was the tired, stressed wife. I was the victim. "I'm okay," I wrote. "The car got towed. I'm at an airport hotel, just too exhausted to make it all the way home. The presentation is all I can think about." I paused, then added the masterstroke. "I'll see you tomorrow night. Love you." I hit send. The delivered receipt appeared. I had just built myself a 24-hour window. The architect was in her office. The blueprints for his destruction were beginning to take shape. I didn't sleep. I watched the clock on the nightstand, the red numbers flipping over, each minute a small hammer blow. When the gray, watery light of dawn finally seeped through the curtains, I was already on my feet. I had less than 24 hours. My first call was to my junior architect, Ben. He picked up on the second ring, his voice already bright and nervous. Ben, I said, my voice flat and cold. I have a severe family emergency. I will not be in today. I heard his sharp intake of breath. But Alara, the Stratospire presentation. It's at 10. You will be handling the Spire presentation, I said. It was not a request. You have been by my side for 8 months. You know the blueprints better than anyone except me. Do not let me down. Cover for me. I am unreachable. Yes, Alara, of course. I hope everything is... I hung up before he could finish. My alibi was set. Marcus believed I was in that meeting. The office now believed I was dealing with a crisis. The chaos was contained. My second call was the only one that mattered. I dialed Maya, my best friend from college, the woman who had looked at the precision of architecture and found it too restrictive. She became a private investigator. She answered, her voice gravelly with sleep. Alara, it's 6 a.m. Please tell me this is about a celebratory brunch. I need you. Now. The sleep in her voice evaporated. Where? The Vesta Hotel, by the airport, room 412. And Maya, I'm listening. Bring your kit. I hung up. She arrived in 45 minutes. She didn't knock like a friend. She knocked like a professional 2-sharp raps. She walked in wearing jeans, a leather jacket, and carrying a heavy backpack. She took one look at me still in yesterday's suit. My hair a mess. My eyes burning, and her usual sarcastic smile vanished. Okay, she said, dropping her pack on the bed. Who are we hunting? I told her everything. The car, the silence from Marcus, the Find My app, the Pinnacle Wellness Center, the window, the champagne, the blonde, Dr. Evans, the final transfer. She listened without interruption. The friend in her stepped back, and the investigator stepped forward. Her expression hardened, becoming focused, calculating. A predator picking up a scent. Okay, she said when I finished. She unzipped her bag and pulled out 2 laptops, several hard drives, and a tangle of cables. Let's start with the easy stuff. She powered up, her fingers flying across the keys. Pinnacle Wellness Center, Dr. Evans, and Jane Doe, blonde and celebratory. While she hunted them, I opened the other laptop. Give me access, I said. She hooked up a secure router. I logged into every financial account I shared with Marcus, our personal checking, our joint savings, our investment portfolios. On the surface, everything looked exactly as it should. The balances were what I expected. The man was a good liar. He knew the facade of normalcy was the most important part. He's clean on the surface, I said, my teeth grinding. Of course he is, Maya muttered, not looking up from her screen. The public face is always clean, but people are stupid, especially rich, stupid people. They post, they brag. Let's see. Dr. Evans? Public records. Ah. What? The blonde. She's not just a guest. She's on their payroll. Maya turned her screen. It was an About Us page for the clinic. There was Dr. Evans, smiling paternally. And right below him, Chloe Evans, Director of Wellness Operations. His daughter, I whispered. The blood drained from my face. This wasn't a simple affair, a panicked doctor being blackmailed. This was a family plan, a father and daughter, working together. It gets worse, Maya said. Her voice was quiet, dangerous. I'm running the registration for the clinic itself. Pinnacle Wellness Center. It's his private practice. No, Maya said. It's not. It's registered to an LLC, a shell company set up 6 months ago. I waited. My heart had stopped beating. Ilara, she said, the clinic is registered to a holding company called Helios Investments. Does that name mean anything to you? I looked back at my screen, at the statements for Lily's trust fund. I had just scanned the name, assuming it was a legitimate fund. "Oh my God," I said. "Marcus has been moving Lily's money into Helios investments for months. They weren't just stealing the money, they were laundering it. They were sitting inside the very asset, the very building they had bought with my niece's stolen future." Maya worked with a terrifying intensity. She was no longer my friend. She was a surgeon dissecting a tumor, and she was pulling out piece after black, rotten piece. She looked up from her screen, her face grim. "Ilara, it's worse than you think. Much worse." "Show me," I said. My voice was a dead, flat thing. "Dr. Evans. He's not just a bad guy, he's a desperate one. I ran a credit and asset check. The man is drowning. He's got over $500,000 in gambling debts, markers all over town." So Marcus hadn't corrupted a good man. He'd found a weak one. "And Chloe," Maya continued, her fingers clicking. "I ran her social media." "The director of wellness operations. She's been posting vacation photos with Marcus for 3 years. 3 years. Not a new fling, not a mistake. 3 years. I had been married to him for 5. He had been lying to me, sleeping with her, for more than half of our marriage." "They've been a team," Maya said, her voice laced with disgust. "Marcus advises the desperate doctor to move money from Lily's trust your niece's future into high-risk private investment funds to recoup his losses. Guess what those funds are?" "Helios Investments," I whispered. "Bingo. The shell company that Marcus and Chloe control. I'm accessing the transfer records now." "Oh, God." She swiveled her laptop. It was a systematic slaughter. Transfer after transfer. 50,000 here, 200,000 there, all disguised as private equity placements. They had been draining Lily's trust fund for almost 18 months. "How much?" I asked. Maya did the math. Her face was pale. "As of last month, they've siphoned off nearly $4 million. $4 million. The air left my lungs. "The final transfer you heard," Maya said, her voice a low growl. "The one they're celebrating, it's the last of it. Another $1.5 million. They're cleaning out the account. They're planning to leave nothing but an empty shell." A new, colder thought hit me. My own money. I turned back to my laptop, my fingers flying. I opened my personal investment account, the one Marcus had set up for me. "Just a little something on the side. Baby," he'd said. "A little bonus fun." I looked at the statements. The small, regular investments I'd made from my own salary. Every single dime, for 2 years, had been funneled directly into Helios Investments. He hadn't just stolen from my niece. He had been stealing from me, from my own paycheck, every single month. "That son of a bitch," I breathed. "Ilara." Maya's voice had a different quality. It was sharp, and it cut through my white-hot rage. "What?" "I've been running a deep background check on Marcus. While I was in their socials, I found a different name on an old post, a name he'd been tagged in, and that was quickly deleted. So I've been digging into that name." She turned her screen back to me. "Your husband, Marcus. His name isn't Marcus." I stared at the screen. A mugshot. A different name. A man 5 years younger, but with the same eyes, the same arrogant smile, even in grainy black and white. "He was convicted on 4 counts of felony fraud in Arizona," Maya said. "He served 2 years. He got out. He moved to Colorado. He changed his name. And he met you." I felt nothing. I was numb. The woman in that hotel room. Ilara the architect. Ilara the wife. She had just ceased to exist. She was a fabrication. A mark. "It's not the worst part," Maya said, her voice so soft I could barely hear her. "What?" I said, "is worse than that?" "He's still married." I looked at her. "The woman from Arizona," Maya said, pointing to the file. "The one he was convicted of defrauding. They never finalized the divorce. He's still legally married to her. In Utah. The pieces clicked into place. My marriage wasn't just a lie, it was a legal fiction. Our house, our accounts, our entire life. It was all a con. From the first day he'd accidentally spilled coffee on me at that cafe. It was all a setup. I wasn't a wife. I was a victim. I was the biggest, most elaborate score of his career. And I had just watched him celebrate closing the deal. I didn't cry. The time for tears was a luxury from a life that had been a complete fabrication. The numbness had burned off, and the rage didn't make me shake. It made me still. It crystallized. It turned into purpose. He didn't just cheat on me. He didn't just lie to me. He stole my niece's future. He used my sister's death as a financial opportunity. Maya was still digging. I picked up my phone. There was only one person to call. Mr. Kincaid, the family lawyer, my father's best friend, the man who had set up Lily's trust after my sister and her husband died, the man who looked at me like a daughter. I dialed. It was barely 7 in the morning. He answered on the first ring, his voice old-school formal. Ilara, I'm at the Vesta Hotel, room 412. I said, I'm with a private investigator. We need to see you right now. It's about Lily's trust. There was a pause, a beat of pure professional silence. My office, 10 minutes. We were there in 8. The building was empty. Just a cleaning crew in the lobby. Kincaid was standing at the door of his 40th floor office, a man from another era in a 3-piece suit, his silver hair perfectly combed even at this hour. He looked at Maya, then at me. Ilara, you look... I look like I've just discovered the truth, I said, walking past him. We sat at his massive mahogany conference table. Maya set up her laptop, plugging it into the wall console. I'm going to present this, I said to Kincaid. The way I would present a project. No emotion. Just the data. He nodded, his eyes dark. Go. For 15 minutes, I laid out the blueprints of the fraud. I showed him the Pinnacle Wellness Center. I showed him Chloe Evans. I showed him the shell company, Helios Investments. I showed him the systematic transfers from Lily's trust. I showed him the mugshot of the man whose real name I still couldn't pronounce. I showed him the Arizona fraud conviction. And finally, I showed him the marriage certificate from Utah. Maya provided the links, the documents, the proof, one after another, projecting them onto Kincaid's wall-mounted monitor. Kincaid sat perfectly still. He didn't move. He just watched, his face getting tighter and tighter, his complexion turning a dangerous shade of red. When I finished, he stared at the mugshot on the screen for a full minute. He looked at me. His composure was gone. His eyes were blazing. He, who had held my sister's hand at her wedding. He, who had read the eulogy at her funeral. That son of a bitch, he whispered. The words were a low, violent growl. Then he moved. He jabbed a button on his intercom. Janet, get in here. Get in here now. His assistant, who must have just arrived, ran in. I need you to file an emergency ex parte motion, he barked, not looking at her. I want a temporary restraining order and a full asset freeze on every account tied to Helios Investments, Marcus, and Dr. Evans. I'm talking to Judge Riley. Tell his clerk I'm on my way. He picked up his phone. Get me the enforcement division at the SEC. I don't care who you have to wake up. Get them. He picked up another phone. Find me the best goddamned criminal attorney in Salt Lake City, Utah. I want them on the phone in 5 minutes. We have a bigamy case that's going to be the lever we use to crush this bastard. He was a whirlwind of righteous fury. He was pacing, shedding his suit jacket, rolling up his starched white sleeves. He's been funding this whole thing, Kincaid was muttering, looking at the shell company structure. He's not just stealing, he's reinvesting. It's a classic Ponzi. He stopped. He looked at Maya. Run the property records for the clinic address. The actual building. Who holds the deed? Maya's fingers flew. The deed is held by... Helios Investments. Of course, Kincaid growled. But how did they buy it? They didn't have the seed money 6 months ago. Unless... His eyes went wide. He ran to his computer and typed in a password. He was accessing the trust's core documents. There, he said, his voice sick. Last year, a capital investment loan from the trust's primary holdings, for $2.5 million, to a private real estate fund. Dr. Evans and Marcus signed off on it. Helios? I asked. Helios, he confirmed. They didn't just steal Lily's money to buy the clinic. They took out an illegal loan from the trust itself to buy it. They're celebrating inside a building that Lily already paid for. The arrogance was staggering. Kincaid looked at me, the fury replaced by a cold, strategic light, the same light I felt in my own eyes. Ilara, this is the critical point. He's planning to move the last $1.5 million this morning. My motion won't be processed for at least a few hours. The SEC won't move that fast. He has to try to make the transfer, I said, understanding immediately. He has to, Kincaid affirmed. If he gets spooked, if he thinks you know, he's gone. He'll grab what he can and run. The mugshot proves he's done it before. He has to believe you are exactly where he put you. In the Stratus Spire presentation, I said. You are in the most important meeting of your life, Kincaid said, his gaze locking with mine. You are stressed. You are focused. You are unreachable. You have to keep him calm. You have to let him walk right into the vault, right before the door seals. My mission was clear. I had to play the part of the oblivious, ambitious wife for just a few hours longer. I had to let him believe his plan was working, right up until the moment it fell on his head. I nodded. He won't suspect a thing. Kincaid was a whirlwind, but I felt a loose thread, a piece of the structure that wasn't secured. Marcus was a sociopath. He would run. But Dr. Evans was just a weak man, a gambler. He was the one who could be flipped. He was the one who could give us the leverage we needed to make everything stick before Marcus vanished. I wouldn't confront Chloe. She was in love, or at least in on the con. She was a hostile. But her father, he was a cornered rat, and cornered rats will do anything to find an escape. I left Kincaid's office and went back to the hotel. Maya was monitoring the asset freeze, a warrior at her console. Where are you going? She asked. I need to change, I said. I went into the bathroom and put on the outfit I'd set aside. My Stratos Spire presentation suit, a charcoal gray, razor-sharp, custom-tailored suit, a silk blouse, my highest, most painful, most powerful heels. I pulled my hair back into a severe architectural bun. I put on my Don't Mess With Me red lipstick. When I walked out, Maya just nodded. Go break something, she said. I arrived at the Pinnacle Wellness Center at 12:30, right at the peak of the lunch hour. The lobby was bright, sterile, and dripping with money. A soft, bland, instrumental music-filled space. I didn't go to the reception desk. I just stood in the middle of the atrium, as if waiting for someone, and watched. It took 4 minutes. Dr. Evans came out of his office, laughing with a client. He walked her to the door, all charm and paternal warmth. As he turned, he saw me. His smile froze for a microsecond, then snapped back into place. Wider, more plastic. Ilara, what a surprise I thought you were. I let my shoulders slump. I put my hand to my temple, playing the part of the exhausted, overwhelmed executive. I had my phone in my other hand, the audio recorder already running. Dr. Evans, I said, my voice weary. Thank God I ran into you. I am having the worst day. His concern looked painted on. My dear, what's wrong? Oh, you won't believe it. I sighed, letting him guide me to a seating area, 2 uncomfortable white leather chairs. My car broke down last night, on that awful mountain road. It was a whole ordeal. I'm just a mess. I've been in this nightmare presentation for the Stratus Spire all morning, and my head is splitting. You poor thing, he said, oozing false sympathy. Can I get you some water? A wellness shot? No, no, I said, waving him off. Actually, I'm glad I'm here. While I was waiting for the tow truck last night, I was trying to get my life in order. You know, just paperwork. I was looking over some of the statements for Lily's trust, and, well, I'm just an architect. I had a few questions. His eyes tightened. Just a fraction. Of course, Ilara. But Marcus is the one who handles the day-to-day. He's been doing a truly remarkable job. Oh, I know, I said. A brittle, tired laugh. He's a miracle worker, but this one fund, I just couldn't place it. This Helios investment fund. It just seems large. I'm sure it's fine, but you're the trustee. I just wanted you to reassure me. He settled back, the patronizing smile returning. Ilara, you must be exhausted. You are not to worry your pretty head about this. Helios is a top-tier private fund. The returns are excellent. Marcus has been exceptional. Everything is perfectly fine. I looked at him. I let the smile drop from my face. I leaned forward, and my voice, when it came out, was no longer the weary wife. It was the architect. It was steel. Really? I asked, my voice low and cold. Because my investigator seems to have found that the Helios Investment Fund has the exact same registration address as your daughter's ski condo in Vail, the one she bought 3 months ago. He didn't just go pale. He went gray. The color drained from his face as if a plug had been pulled. His hands, which had been resting on his knees, clenched. I could see a fine sheen of sweat pop out on his upper lip. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. I don't think that's true, I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a single file folder. I didn't slide it. I placed it on the table between us. He stared at it as if it were a snake. I'm not here to make a deal, Doctor, I said. I'm here to give you a schedule. That is a detailed report from my private investigator. It outlines your gambling debts, all of them, the markers, the backroom loans. It's very thorough. He was shrinking, collapsing in on himself in his expensive suit. You are scheduled to make a final transfer of $1.5 million at 2 p.m. this afternoon. I continued. My lawyer is currently freezing that account, but he's giving it a 2-hour window. His eyes, wide with terror, snapped up to meet mine. You have exactly one chance, I said, to be a witness instead of a co-defendant. You will be at Mr. Kincaid's office at 1:30. Not 1:31, 1:30. You will tell him everything. You will sign an affidavit. You will cooperate fully. And if I don't, he whispered, his voice cracking. If you are not in his office at 1:30, I said, standing up, the SEC will be in this lobby at 3, and they will not be as discreet as I've been. I'm sure your clients will be fascinated. I picked up my briefcase. I didn't take the file. I left it for him. You have 1 hour, Doctor. I'd hurry. I turned and walked out of the clinic, my heels clicking a sharp, steady rhythm on the marble floor. I didn't look back. I left him to drown in the mess he had helped create. I walked back into the Vesta Hotel, room 412. The adrenaline that had been coursing through me, that had made me sharp and cold and powerful, was beginning to fade, replaced by a hollow, shaking exhaustion. Maya was still at the laptop, a grim sentinel. How'd it go? She asked, not looking up. I gave him a choice, I said, sinking onto the edge of the bed. Now we see if he's smart enough to take it. This was the hardest part of any design. The part after the plans are submitted. The part where you wait for the permits, for the client's approval, for the ground to be broken. The waiting. I had one last piece of foundation to lay. I picked up my phone, my fingers feeling heavy. I texted Marcus. This day is a disaster, I typed. The presentation is delayed. Ben is a complete mess without me. I'm so stressed I could scream. I'm giving up and going to a spa to get my head straight, turning my phone off for a few hours. I'll see you at home tonight. I created my black box. My period of silence. I was officially, in his mind, unreachable. I looked at the clock on the nightstand. 1:05 p.m. We waited. Maya tracked the accounts. I tracked the clock. The silence in the room was deafening. 1:15 p.m. Anything? I asked. Nothing. No movement. Maya said. 1:20 p.m. I was pacing. He's not coming. He's going to call Marcus. He's going to blow it up. Shut up, Ilara, Maya said, not unkindly. Pace if you have to, but be quiet. Let me work. 1:28 p.m. My phone was in my hand, my thumb hovering over Kincaid's name. 1:30 p.m. The clock clicked over. Nothing. The room was silent. He didn't go, I whispered. My plan had failed. Wait, Maya said. 1:31 p.m., 1:32 p.m. My phone rang. The screen lit up with Kincaid's name. I snatched it, my heart seizing. Hello? He's here, Kincaid said. His voice was grim. He's in my conference room with 2 associates. He looks like he's going to be physically sick. Is he talking? I breathed. I haven't let him start yet. Kincaid said, I just wanted you to know. He made the right choice. Now. Ilara, you stay put. The next phase is in motion. We'll be in touch. He hung up. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. He's there. He's talking. Good, Maya said, her eyes still glued to her screen. Now it's Marcus's turn. The freeze is set for 2 p.m. He's got about 25 minutes to make his move. The wait started again, but this time it was different. It was the tension of a wire being pulled taut, just before it snaps. 2 p.m. It's active, Maya said. The accounts are frozen. 2:01 p.m. He's logging in, Maya said, her voice dropping. He's trying to access the transfer protocol. She was giving me a play-by-play. He's trying to move the 1.5 million. It's not working. The request is being rejected. He knows, I said. He's trying again. He's trying a smaller amount. 100,000. Rejected. 10,000. Rejected. Maya let out a small, vicious laugh. He's trying to pull out $1,000. Rejected. He's locked out. What's he doing? He just logged off. He's spooked. My phone rang. Maya's phone rang at the exact same time. It was a conference call from Kincaid. Ilara, Maya, are you on? Kincaid's voice was sharp. We're here, I said. Evans is singing like a canary. Kincaid said. He's giving us everything. Chloe, the shell companies, the offshore accounts. He's terrified. As he was speaking, Maya, who was also on the call, interrupted him. Kincaid, Ilara, I've got a live tale on Marcus. My guy picked him up when he left the house this morning. He's not at the clinic. He went to the bank. My guy says he just ran out. He looked. She checked her monitor, and I quote, like he wanted to murder someone. He's in his car. He's yelling into his phone. He's calling Chloe, I said, or Evans. Let him, Kincaid said. Evans is with me. His phone is on this table. Off. It's going straight to voicemail. Where's he going? I asked Maya. Is he going to his lawyer? Is he coming home? No, Maya said, her voice suddenly tight. He's not going downtown. He's not going home. He's heading south. Fast. He's going to the industrial district, to that storage facility, the one he has listed as a business address for Helios. He's going for his records, I said. Wait, Maya said, her eyes wide. My guy is right behind him. He's pulling in. He's at his unit. He's opening it. He's inside. There was a pause. I could hear the faint sound of the tail's voice on Maya's feed. Maya, what is it? Maya looked up from her computer, and her face was a mask of cold fury. Ilara, he's not getting records. My guy has eyes on him. He just pulled out a duffel bag, a big one, and a small metal case. What's in the case? I asked, though I already knew. My guy is using a long lens. He's got it. It's a passport, a fake one, and stacks of cash. He's not staying to fight. Ilara. He's not going to a lawyer. He's running. He's running, I repeated, the words tasting like ash. And Ilara, Maya added, her voice dropping. He's alone. He didn't pick up Chloe. He didn't even call her. He's cutting them both loose. He's planning to abandon his girlfriend and her father and just disappear. Of course he was running. The revelation from Maya hit me with the force of a physical impact. The duffel bag, the fake passport. He wasn't just abandoning his co-conspirators, he was abandoning his entire identity. He was a creature designed for one purpose, to flee. But I knew him. Or rather, I knew the type of man he was. He was arrogant. He was a narcissist. He wouldn't just run, not without scorching the earth behind him. He would believe, in his panicked reptilian brain, that he had one last stop to make. He had to destroy the evidence. And I knew where he kept it. In our house. The house I designed. In the custom safe I had built into the wall of his office. The one he thought was his secret. He would go there. He would go there to shred his personal ledgers, grab his backup cash, and wipe his hard drives before heading to the airport. He was a rat, and he was heading for his hole. I just had to make sure the trap was waiting. I had to get him there. I looked at my phone, still dark. My spa alibi. It was time to shatter it. I disconnected the conference call with Maya and Kincaid. I took a deep, shuddering breath, not of fear, but of preparation. I was an architect about to present a design. I was an actress stepping onto the stage. I pushed all the cold, precise anger down, 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 and in its place. I summoned the woman he'd spent 5 years cultivating, the high-strung, emotional, frantic wife. I turned my phone on. I dialed his number. He picked up on the first ring, his voice sharp, panicked, and angry. Ilara, I thought your phone was off. I let out a sob, a sound I had to drag up from a place I'd buried. It was raw and convincing. Marcus, I shrieked, pitching my voice high with hysteria. Oh my God, Marcus, thank God I just got the most horrible call. What? What call, Ilara? Slow down. It was Kincaid, I cried, letting my voice crack. He called me at the spa. He was screaming. He said these awful things about you, about Dr. Evans. He said you were stealing. He said he froze the accounts. Marcus, what is happening? He said he froze everything. I played the part of the confused, terrified wife to perfection. I was a victim, not of him, but of the mean old lawyer. I heard the sound of a horn and a squeal of tires on his end. He was driving, fast. Listen to me, he said, his voice a strained, false calm. He was trying to manage me. Kincaid is lying. He's a senile old fool. It's a misunderstanding, a simple paperwork error. That's all. I can fix it. He said, I sobbed. I don't care what he said, he snapped, his control slipping. Then he caught himself. Baby, listen. Where are you? Are you still at the spa? Stay right there. I'm coming to get you. We'll figure this out. Just stay put. The trap. He wanted to contain me. He wanted to control the location. I couldn't let him. I had to make the house the target. No, I shrieked, as if in a full-blown panic. I'm not at the spa I left. I'm in my rental car. I'm going home. I need to see the paperwork, the trust documents. You always said you kept a copy in the safe. Ilara, no, don't go to the house. I have to, I screamed. I have to see it. I don't understand what's happening. Meet me at the house. Marcus, we have to sort this out. We have to call a lawyer. Meet me at the house. There was a long pause. I could hear his mind working, the gears grinding. He was recalculating. The hysterical wife was now a liability, a loose end near his precious safe. He couldn't let me get there alone. He had to get there first, or at least with me, to calm me down while he pocketed his passport and his cash. He thought I was a fool. He thought I was an obstacle to be managed before his escape. "Okay," he said, his voice suddenly smooth as silk. "Okay, baby, okay. You're right. Go to the house. I'll meet you there. I'm about 10 minutes away. Just wait for me in the living room. All right. Don't touch anything, especially the safe. It's complicated. Just wait for me. I'll explain everything." He hung up. I stared at the phone. My hand was not shaking. I immediately dialed back into the conference line with Maya. "He's on his way," I said, my voice perfectly level, the hysteria gone. There was a beat of silence. "Jesus, Ilara!" Maya's voice came through, thick with a dark, impressed awe. "You're a terrifyingly good liar." "Where is he? Maya?" I asked. I heard her keyboard clicking, the sound of her PI checking in. "He just made an illegal U-turn on the freeway. He's off the airport exit. Holy shit. He's doing 90 on the surface streets." "He took the bait," I said. "He didn't just take it," Maya said. "He's swallowing it whole. He's driving like a maniac, and he's heading straight for the house." I am in Kincaid's office. I'm not in the hotel room. I am sitting at the head of his conference table, and I am watching a bank of monitors. Maya is next to me, a headset on, coordinating with her team and the police. Kincaid is on the phone, his voice a low growl, and I am watching the feeds from my home security system, the one I designed, the one he thought was just to keep intruders out. "He's at the gate," Maya reported, her eyes on her own laptop. "He just blasted through the driveway. He's out of the car." On my main screen, I watched him, the man I thought I knew. He exploded out of his car, leaving the door hanging open, the engine running. He was still clutching the duffel bag. He ran to the front door, his hands shaking so violently he dropped his keys. He cursed, snatched them up, and fumbled the key into the lock. He burst into the foyer. "Ilara!" he shouted. "Ilara, where are you?" His voice was a panicked bark in the soaring, silent atrium I had designed to be a place of peace. He didn't wait. He was an animal, all instinct. He ran, his footsteps echoing on the polished concrete floors, straight to his office. My office, really. I had just let him use it. I watched him on the office camera. He didn't look at his desk. He didn't look at the duffel bag he still held. He ran straight to the wall, the feature wall of custom-milled walnut bookshelves. He slammed his palm against the false panel I had designed, the one he thought was his secret. The panel slid away, silent as a whisper, revealing the black, imposing face of the high-security safe. He punched in his code, his fingers stabbing at the keypad. The light flashed green. He yanked the heavy steel door open, and he froze. I watched his back, the muscles in his expensive suit bunching. He was staring into an abyss. It was empty. The ledgers, the backup hard drives, the emergency cache, the fake documents, everything, a hollow, metal cube. He reached a hand in, his fingers brushing the cold steel, a desperate, disbelieving caress. He patted the shelves, as if the thousands in cache and the gigabytes of data had simply become invisible. Slowly, his shoulders slumped. He turned, his face a grotesque mask of pure, unfiltered panic. His eyes were wide, his mouth was open. He was a man who had just seen a ghost. That was my cue. On the opposite wall, the 75-inch smart television flickered on. Not with the stock market data he usually had running. It was me. I was staring directly into the camera from Kincaid's conference room, my face filling the screen. I was perfectly calm. I was not the hysterical wife on the phone. He stumbled back, a small, choked sound escaping his throat. "Looking for these, Marcus," I asked. My voice, crisp and cold, filled his office from the surround sound speakers I had installed. He stared, his mind unable to bridge the gap between the crying woman on the phone and the woman on the screen. "I designed that safe," I said, my voice level. "It's a brilliant piece of engineering. But you forgot the first rule of architecture. The designer always builds in a back door. I also designed the override code. On the screen, I gestured to the side, and I had my team pick everything up. The camera in Kincaid's office pulled back, the view widening. He saw me, sitting at the head of the table. He saw Kincaid, his face like a thundercloud, sitting to my right. He saw Maya, who gave a small, vicious wave, on my left. He saw the two stone-faced detectives, one on either side, and he saw the table. Spread across the polished mahogany, in neat, evidential piles, was the entire contents of his safe, his ledgers, his drives, his cash, and, in the center, his fake passport, his entire escape plan, cataloged and tagged, the duffel bag, his last hope, slid from his nerveless fingers and hit the floor. "You," he whispered, the word barely audible. "You bitch." "Oh, I'm just getting started," I said, leaning toward the camera, making my image on his screen grow larger. "I know you're in a hurry, so let's get you up to speed. I'm sitting here with Detectives Miller and Hayes. They are finding your bookkeeping utterly fascinating." I saw his knees buckle. "And by the way," I added, my tone conversational, "I also spoke to your other wife, the one in Utah. She was just horrified to learn you'd committed bigamy. She's filing a criminal complaint as we speak. She sends her regards." His face, which had been pale, was now ashen. "As for your partners," I said, delivering the final line of the design. "Dr. Evans, he's in the conference room right next door. He's been singing for 2 hours, giving a full confession to save his daughter. He gave us everything, Marcus, the offshore accounts, the wire transfer codes. He gave us you." I watched him, the con man, the predator, the man who had stolen my life. He was trapped. He was a rat in a cage I had designed. He stared at my face on the screen, his world collapsing into pixels and light. A primal roar tore out of his throat. He reacted not like a man, but like a cornered animal. With a scream, he grabbed a heavy crystal award from his desk, a community finance award I'd bought him, and hurled it at the television. My face shattered into 1,000 pieces of glass and pixelated light. He was in full flight mode. He spun, snatching the duffel bag from the floor, along with the fake passport. He was running on pure adrenaline. His only thought was escape. He didn't care about me, or Chloe, or the money he'd lost. He just had to run. He burst from the office, back into the soaring atrium. I watched him on the foyer camera, a high-angle shot I had designed for its aesthetic. Now, it was a predator's eye view. He sprinted to the massive 10-foot-tall custom oak door. He grabbed the handle and yanked it open, ready to bolt into the afternoon. He froze. Standing on the limestone porch, solid and unmoving, were 2 uniformed police officers. They weren't the detectives from Kincaid's office. They were the muscle. They just stood there, hands on their belts, blocking the sun. He recoiled, stumbling back into the foyer. His escape route was cut off. And then, he heard my voice again. Not from the broken TV, but from everywhere. It came from the ceiling speakers, the in-wall panels, the smart hub on the kitchen counter. I was the ghost in the machine. I was the architect of his prison. "You can't outrun a blueprint, Marcus," I said. My voice was calm, clear, and echoed in the open plan space. "I designed this house. I know every single exit." Panic, pure and animalistic, took over. He spun around, his eyes wild, looking for another way out. The back door. The glass sliding walls that led to the pool deck. He ran, slipping on the polished concrete, scrambling through the living room, heading for the rear of the house. He got to the hallway, and he skidded to a stop. Standing at the end of the hall, framed by the light from the back garden, were 2 more officers. They had come in through the utility entrance. He turned left, the kitchen, the side door. An officer was standing there, too. Every exit, every egress, every path I had designed for flow and light was now a barrier, a wall, a dead end. He was surrounded. He was trapped. The con man, the runner, the ghost he had nowhere left to go. He looked up at the ceiling, at the invisible speaker his prison warden was using. He let out a sound, a high-pitched, pathetic keen of a trapped animal. And then, all the energy, all the false bravado, all the arrogance that had defined his entire life, just evaporated. He collapsed. Right there in the foyer, on the custom-laid stone. He just fell. He crumpled to the floor, the duffel bag falling open, spilling stacks of stolen cash onto the floor around him. The officers from the front door stepped inside, their footsteps slow, deliberate, and final. They didn't have their guns drawn. They didn't need to. The fight was over. One of them nudged the bag with his boot. "Marcus," he said, and he used the real name. "You are under arrest." In Kincaid's office, I watched them haul him to his feet. I watched his limp, useless arms as they were pulled behind his back. I watched the cold metal of the handcuffs snap shut around his wrists, and with a click of my mouse, I disconnected the feed. The screen went black. I sat in the silence of the conference room. Kincaid, Maya, and the detectives were all watching me, waiting. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I didn't feel triumph. I just felt finished. I took one deep, shuddering breath, the first real breath I'd taken in 24 hours. The air felt clean. I turned to Kincaid, who was already pushing a fresh legal pad into the center of the table. "Now," I said, "let's go get my niece's money back." He, Maya, and I huddled over the table, and we began to look at a new set of blueprints. Not for a building of steel and glass, but for a financial structure of recovery, a plan to seize every asset, claw back every dollar, and rebuild the future he had tried to demolish. The revenge was complete. The recovery was just beginning. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Please comment below and let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to connect and hear your thoughts. Remember to subscribe to Lily Revenge Stories, like this video, and hit that hype button to help this story reach more people who need to hear it.